Good afternoon, Lampasas. Monday, October the 14th, 2024. 5:30 p.m. We will call to order our special session. We will get a motion to adjourn into executive session. So moved. Second. Section 551.074, personnel matters to deliberate, appoint, employment, evaluation, reassignment duties of city manager and other personnel matters as allowed by the Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. At this time, we'll adjourn. Discuss during the executive session.
So I move to appoint Aaron N. Corbell to the position of city manager for the city of Lampasas, effective on or about November 18th, 2024.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
And at this time, Aaron, we'd like for you to come down front. Council. This is just our welcoming committee and welcoming Aaron. What do you want to sit here in the middle? I'll sit behind her over here.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Give her a hand. Wow, we're excited to have you, Aaron. Thank you very much. Thank you. At this time, we'll call to order our workshop session. What's that? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Move to adjourn.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
I'm so excited. At this time, we'll call to order our workshop session. And at this time, we have a special presentation that we would like to make. I'd like to have the Williams family, if you guys could come forward at this time. I just wanted to say thank you. Chuck was a great friend of our city and a great friend of us all personally. For the most part, I enjoy talking with Chuck on a weekly basis. We were honored, and today we are better because of Chuck Williamson's life. And I just want to thank you. I can only imagine your grief. I can only imagine your loss. But what he did for our city and what he just did for mankind was off the charts. And there's not too many days that go by that I don't hear somebody say, I miss Chuck. So thank you very much. We're honored to present this to you guys, family. The keys to Lampasas, Chuck Williamson, Mayor Pro Tem, Chuck Williamson. Thank you. Next item up is number 3 regarding staff monthly reports to City Council.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This item is placed on the workshop agenda after discussion with Councilmember Hyder for discussion in general about the staff reporting, whether we could maybe do something to provide a little bit better perspective in our reporting, maybe eliminate some of the reporting items that are fairly routine matters. But without objection, Mayor, I'd like to defer to or yield to the council member for further discussion.
Yeah, Council, after reading a couple of the monthly reports Becky had in there, attended all of the city council meetings. Of course, we know that because she's sitting right in front of us. So I just think that's something like that's a waste of her time. Yvonne saying that she bought supplies for her office. I just think at that level of a director that's kind of wasted their time to have to report to us that menial a task. I would say if it's a profit center like the electrical department or the golf course or something like that, they show us the profit or loss. If it's the parks and Chris, he shows, if there's major costs associated with his department for that month. Maybe a rundown monthly from Becky of commercial permits requested for Bill. Just major stuff that would absolutely affect our decisions, our jobs, and stuff that the citizens would ask us about potentially in the field. That's what my idea of a report would be.
Well, I feel like the way they do it now, it's very transparent for anyone to go back and look at the packets. I think there's nothing wrong with the way they report it personally.
Yeah, but Yvonne saying that she bought supplies for her office that month, is it that critical of her job to report that?
I think it's good for transparency personally. I'm not gonna, that's just where I stand on it.
Chris Ackert saying he moved the cemetery. It seems like them are obviously tasks that they have to do, that would be required of their job. And I don't know that taking their time out of their month to report to the council that they help with filing that month is that important.
Where do you draw the line?
If the director that we hire for that department thinks it's a important task to report to council, or basically it's actually reporting to the city manager, and city manager provides us with a report, really I think it's between the city manager and his or her directors. And then they just copy and paste it to us.
I would have to agree with Councilmember Keeney. I like the way it's done already.
I think one of the goals that staff has that we've talked about previously is that we want to provide you perspective, not just numbers, not just information on a piece of paper, but exactly what we do and why we do it. And if there's a means, you can come up with something that would be more effective in terms of communicating that perspective, please let us know and we'll run with it. The one thing that I think I've also cued in on is, we probably could provide you more and more frequent some financial tidbits, and maybe that's something that we can incorporate without objection. But otherwise, we'll keep it generally the same. We'll try to make it a little less burdensome for you to go through. But if you're looking for how many water connections we have, it's in the report. And if you're looking for other stuff, it's in there already. So.
And how many pencils we bought being in there too.
Well, Councilman Hatter, to kind of expand on my thoughts a little bit is, here a while back, somebody in the community was complaining about cemetery not being mowed, and I was able to go through the packets and call them back and have an informed answer. So, it helped me in that situation. So.
And that's a great idea and a great reason to have it. It just seemed like there was a lot of menial things that the directors that have a lot of responsibility in the city were reporting that seemed to me would be something that is a month by month regular occurrence, and I thought we could save some time on their position, then that would be great. But if that's what the council wants to do is keep it, then we'll keep it. I don't have a problem with it.
from, to a staff member, how much of a burden is that doing that right now? Not.
From my perspective, it's not. It's something we do and it's something we keep track of on a regular basis of how we spend our time. So it's not menial to me.
Me neither. I mean, mine's a one-page report. Sometimes there ain't a whole lot to put down because we do a lot of the same stuff on a monthly basis. So, but it does have a lot of water connects, electric connects, you know, things that we think are important for y'all to know. But we can certainly always pick out some of the other stuff that maybe is the day-to-day stuff.
Anything else?
The department has it back there. Five? Okay.
All right. Okay, we will move on to discussion regarding any item on the regular agenda.
Mayor, I think I'd like to talk about item 7.3.
Item what?
7.3.
7.3.
Okay, I know that we had tabled this at the last meeting, but after kind of going through everything, I'm very excited that so many people want to apply for the position and be in these board positions. But I also feel that people that have already given their time and effort and have done this or they're willing to serve again on these different boards, I think that we need to consider them because they've already given their time, they've already been doing it, and they're willing to continue to serve. I think that they deserve that, especially when the board approved it.
Any other comments?
We gonna take this up now or later? I mean, it says it's 7:3.
Well, I don't think we're going to pick it up now.
Right.
This was just a workshop session.
Discussion.
Yeah, to get ideas out and thoughts before, because we didn't have a workshop before that went to vote. What it was.
Let's say whenever we do get there, you want to go through each position separately, or
I'm of the opinion you vote on all three at one time since that's how it's written. It wasn't written singular. It was written for all three of them at one time. That's my opinion.
I agree with that.
I think we should go through each one individually, but
It's open to go.
when we get there, I just want to make sure that we're going one way or the other.
That's why, I'm sorry.
That either we're looking at each individual position for an appointment, or taking it up slated as three people.
I'll go over each individual. Yeah, that's why I would assume that's what you want to do.
That's what I like to do.
Okay.
We kind of get everyone's opinion, so when we get there, we know which way to go. So, Miles, you say slated all three?
Yeah, I mean it's written as all three, so that's.
Just because it's written doesn't mean we can't take it.
I would do all three. I would vote all three at one time.
So what do you want to do?
I'm okay with taking each individual up.
I'd like to go each individual. Mayor?
I'd like to go each individual.
Eric?
All three.
All three? Kathy?
I'm all three, but
Davis?
Yeah, each individual.
So I know we can't vote on anything right now, but that's kind of the reception of it. But that's where we want to go. Okay, good deal.
I think then we adjourn the workshop session and go into regular session then.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
At this time, I'd like to call the regular session to order. All rise.
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you tonight. We're so grateful to be in this beautiful community of yours. surrounded by good people who come to you with open hearts and minds. And we ask that you be with everyone involved tonight so good decisions can be made to the betterment of your entire community and all of our visitors. So thank you for all of our blessings. We ask forgiveness for our sins. And we ask that you be with us and we will meet again. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Citizens comment. Any citizen who desires to address the city council on a matter not included on the agenda may do so at this time. The city may not deliberate on items presented underneath this agenda item. We do have two. Mr. Kelly from Central Texas Water.
Yes.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me. I'm Lee Kelly, Central Texas General Manager of Central Texas Water Supply Corporation. What I have to ask y'all is at some point we can start dialogue on our capital improvement account, which is not kept up with inflation. All the members of Central Texas have voted to double the rate from 10.7 cents right now to 22 cents, with the exception of Kempner. And I know we'll take a amendment to y'all's contract with Kempner to pass that cost on through. But I do ask at a point when y'all feel it's appropriate to sit down and talk with y'all about it and review that. So I'm gonna throw it back in your court and see if y'all have a discussion about it. But the capital improvement account has not kept up with inflation, and that will allow us to keep producing water. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak tonight. Thank you.
At this time, we'll move to 1.2, citizens comment. Any citizen who desires to address the city council on a matter that is included on the agenda may do so at this time. And we have Mr. Ball.
Hello, Council. I'm Sid Ball. I'm a member of the LEDC board. This is actually my second time on the board. I just wanted to give a little clarification from what was said at a prior meeting with regards to the nomination and ratification of the board of the nominees that we have put forward. Since I was the one that made the motion, I thought I should be the one that kind of clarifies. Before we made the motion, I specifically said that we had the information for all the ones that wanted. And there were several that were very good that I think would be an asset to any board that they choose to be on. However, I've also been on the board when we had a current member and I made the motion to remove them and brought someone in that was not on the board. So I don't take this lightly, but I made the motion of retaining the ones we had because I know their dedication to Lampasas and the city. Because they'd spent over nearly 5 hours the week before when we were there interviewing candidates for the EDC director's job. So they gave of their time and effort to do that. So I'm just wanting to say that in the manner of, it wasn't a rubber stamp. It was thought out and it was done that way. And I'm just gonna leave you with, I got off the board years ago because I didn't think it was moving the way it should. I was asked to get back on it a few years ago because I think there is momentum with the EDC and the city of getting some stuff done. And I think if we just change for the sake of change, we're gonna set Lampasas back. There's good people on that board that have the interests of Lampasas at heart. And I think that I implore y'all to take our recommendation and vote them back. That's my 5 minutes. Tax deadline's tomorrow, so I gotta get back to the office. But thank you for hearing me out.
Hold on a second, Sid. Hold on. We can talk.
You know, there's a lot of questions. No.
It's on the agenda, right?
Yeah, but
But it's on the agenda.
yeah, we'll go to the agenda.
Okay.
Thank you.
Question.
Discussion and possible actions concerning the approval of minutes on the regular meeting held on September 23rd, 2024.
I moved to approve the minutes. I didn't see any changes that needed to be made.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Consent agenda, discussion and possible action regarding the purchase and charges in excess of $4,000 from September 1st, 2024, September 30th, 2024. Discussion and possible actions regarding August 2024 investment report. And discussion and possible action regarding the second reading of an ordinance amending Chapter 54, Parks and Recreation, Division 3, Golf Course Advisory Board, Section 5476, Creation, Function, Composition, C, Membership.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second. Any discussion?
Yeah, Yvonne, you have on here on page 20, the purchase of a patrol car 2023. I know going forward in business today that Jody's going to request 2 additional cars. So does it take about a year to get a police car? So we're just now paying for a car requested last year?
Yes, sir. Yes,
That's
sir.
what I was assuming. Thank you.
It's taken, some of them taken a year and a half, almost 2 years to get.
Okay.
So we did about 6 months ago, we did a modification or amendment to the budget to be able to pay for those since they were in the prior year fiscal year.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Routine matters, city manager's operational report.
This is available to the dais. I apologize for not getting this to you ahead of time. This is probably the shortest manager's report in my tenure. 2 quick items. Hostess House. We are finding that we did come up with some additional costs related to a 800 amp 3-phase service that was vetted through Hendricks Consulting Engineers, the MEP of record for the project. That was the high dollar on the change. It was about $31,000. The cost was verified and validated by our MEP as well as the need. We also understand that as they've opened up walls, they have found some rot, particularly on the pool side of the facility, which will likely result in additional change orders. The city maintains over half of the contractual contingency, and we are certainly hopeful that there will be no increase in the contract amount. As oversight transfer to my position from the assistant city manager position, we will provide you with, or please anticipate additional detailed reporting on the status of that project. AFNA, Ajinomoto Foods North America, we did have a meeting with them on October 3rd. I think the previous meeting of this type was in May. That doesn't mean that we were not communicating, but it was typically through email and phone calls in terms of update. We did learn that AFNA has engaged an additional engineering firm, Haskell, to fast track a 30% design for treatment of effluent from their plant. It's interesting because they've come up with the same treatment technology that was identified in the February 2021 PER that our consulting engineer did in consultation with their consulting engineers at the time. We do think that this is a positive step. They do plan to at least initially design and build this on the property they currently own, which was the big hurdle in terms of their being able to fund capital projects. They believe that once the 30% design is done and finalized, they will be able to seek corporate funding for the construction. And I do want to let you know that they are sharing all design criteria and specifications with our engineers so that we will be able to review and recommend any modifications. That's all I got.
Where are they gonna, because you said they're gonna put it on their property that they own, where are they gonna put it?
They own a piece of property at the corner of 3rd and Hackberry.
Oh, okay. The big lot, that empty lot.
Correct.
And I know it's way early. What's their timeline?
Their timeline is to be done with the 30% design in at the end of October. Seek funding. Beyond that, I can't speak for them. But you know, to go from 30 to 90% is going to take several months, I'm sure. You know, this is this type of treatment facility is somewhat of a plug and play. You buy the piece of equipment, you install the piece of equipment. It's not, you know, not real sophisticated construction. So, you know, perhaps 18 months to. I mean, let's be honest. We've been doing this since 2019 on this particular issue. So, if it's done in 2 or 3 years, it's probably maybe a realistic guess. But like I said, I can't speak for it.
So, just out of curiosity, so it's like a little mini water treatment, or?
Yeah, the technology is called DAF. It's dissolved air flotation. You'd have to have Jason Jones up here to explain exactly what that does. But it's technology that removes biochemical oxygen demand, total suspended solids, as well as fog. So it is a fairly robust system that more and more, particularly food processing facilities, are installing.
So I would be curious as to what it would look like, and that I know that's probably down the road, but like kind of what it would look like, because it would be like a walk off downtown and all that kind of stuff. Not that it's not necessary, I just am curious.
I think that they will build it as efficiently as they can. I think there's some question about, maybe CMU is probably a more desirable building material, but we have not seen the exterior design yet, so any of the elevations.
Okay, thank you.
And I just want to clarify something a second ago during the public hearing and citizen comments. If there's a citizen comment on something that is on the agenda, the council can ask questions at that time.
In my opinion, you have notified the public through that agenda item that would be discussed at the meeting. And I will get clarification through the city attorney, but I believe that if it is on the agenda, you can have some dialogue on it.
Okay, I just wanted to kind of clarify that.
And I don't think you can take action on it until the action item.
Right.
But I think because it's already on the agenda, the public has been informed of what you're going to talk about. I don't think doing it out of turn or doing it during that section.
Just wanted a clarification on that because I think Councilman Hyder kind of got shut down real quick when he wanted to ask questions there, and I don't necessarily think that's correct.
I'll get clarification on that.
Okay.
Concerning the hostess house,
Yes.
do you know if the electrical contractor has any additional RFIs on anything?
There are a number of RFIs, but I cannot speak to whether the contractor has any additional RFIs on it. There have been, as I've reported previously, there have been probably well over 50 RFIs on this project. And typically, they've been handled by the architect by a simple reference to the specification. But in some cases, anyway, I can find out how many RFIs it might have.
I'm just kind of curious on how 800 Antonian 3 disconnect was overlooked in the project.
That was my question as well. When I talked to Kimberly about it, she said that I think they initially thought it wouldn't be an issue, but as the new HVAC came in and those requirements, they felt like it was not, they needed the new service.
Okay.
I mean, they should have picked up rock on structural members, shouldn't they?
Yeah, there's all kinds of questions here.
Exactly.
How many RFIs have been requested now, and how many have we had to pay? How did they miss an 800 amp? I've been around a lot of
That's a good question. I'll get some clarification.
I've been around a lot of government contracts through my corporation with Freightliner, and typically if it's an RFI, most of the time there's money value involved that I think you know. This is becoming a money pit of epic proportion, and a lot of misses. Sounds like the contractor's doing. I'm sure it's not on purpose, but there's some pretty glaring misses here. Holy cow.
Can you ask about that rot as well, how that got overlooked?
The rock on the exterior finish?
Oh, it says indicated rot and damaged structural members on the
Oh,
pool side.
I think those were behind the wall. That's the reason. As they opened up the walls, they noticed there was some rot behind the walls.
Wasn't the
I thought you said rock. I'm sorry.
But wasn't the scope of the contract of rebuild, fix everything that's wrong, inspect, repair type vision? I mean, I was on the council at the time, so I'm trying to catch up.
Yes.
What was the vision of the contract?
The vision was to, and council chime in, but I think the vision was to bring the existing MEP up to code, which was a chore in and of itself. Try to have more usable space, bathrooms upstairs. It's not necessarily an expansion space, but also accessibility, new elevator, new HVAC, that sort of thing.
And based on the year of it, miles, they're not gonna know what they have until they get in there. And so they definitely had money a lot set aside for RFIs. This is in addition to that. I'm not here, I'm not taking up from the people. But it's a situation where if you've done any kind of, especially old renovation, you don't know what you have to get in there. And all you get in there is take the wall down, so.
Or use cameras or something. I'm sure companies have technology these days that, you can drill a hole in and look every 16, 24 inches. Just like I said, I didn't vote for it, nor would I have voted for it. It just seems to be costing us more money every month you stand up there and tell us.
Yeah, I don't want to sound dismissive or defensive about it. You've got about, so far about $45,000 worth of change. We've got the walls opened up now. You've got, we have saved some money on a number of value engineering items. The light package we saved some money on. We avoided some other costs, I think that I previously reported to you. Certainly we understand the concern of council. We'll get some additional information on particularly the electrical and a number of RFIs, but I forgot how many change orders we had with this building, and a good set of plans on this building. But we had to install some metal beams. We had to cut out some things once we got into them. So, like I said, we will certainly be diligent in getting you the information in terms of RFIs and why we have change orders. And certainly it would be my goal, at least for the next month and a half, to be a little bit more involved, a little bit more communicative on the project.
And as far as what we've got allocated for the budget for the project, how far over are we at the time? Or
you're still within contract. In fact, you got about, you still have a contingency. The original contingency was about 106, so you got under half of your contingency remaining without impacting the contract price.
I might have missed this, but what are they anticipating, and how close are we?
In terms of completion, I think they're looking at May for completion. And I'll verify the date on that.
Do we have a comprehensive plan on trying to recoup our money from that building? I know this isn't the first time we've repaired it or done anything to it. But what's the plan to get our money back? Is it just weddings? Is it bar mitzvahs?
It's not gonna happen. You're not gonna return on investment on this. It's not gonna happen. We're talking years down the road, and I understand the business mind.
Decades.
Yeah, but this is a building, a historical building in this community that was renovated once prior by the DRT, and then now was brought before the city because the city took it over. And so if cost per square foot, yes, you do something else. You start over, you do something else, so a different location. But that's not what this is.
I'm trying to do some research, maybe I'm looking wrong spot. What's the historical nature of that building? Does it come from Fort Hood originally?
Yeah, Fort Hood in a bathhouse has been a bathhouse for a number of reunions, number of family events, just over the years. And so it's been needed repair, even when it was renovated back in the day. The kitchen was never a commercial kitchen, and then the elevator. And now we're up to code on that. We have to go up to code. So this is one of these buildings that, it's best just to renovate it, do what we can, do the cosmetic, and then move on.
So basically, kind of how I'm seeing it is that the city's now having to renovate an old building, historical old building, like what other people in downtown are having to do. So it costs them money, it's costing us money to bring it to code. And the reason is that the citizens wanted that building saved. And yes, it's not a good return on investment, but it's something that's, you get more out of it with the historical significance. And it's kind of like a quality of life type thing in town. It's something that's on Lampasas.
So, concerning AFNA, what's Jason Jones' opinion on the DAF system?
He signed off on it back in 2021. He worked. I forgot the name of the company. It was an engineering firm out of Houston, I believe, that was familiar with food processing facilities and that technology. And I think he came away with believing that it was an effective solution and it was a less costly solution. But they vetted it. They called a number of other facilities that had that technology, and he came away endorsing it in his 2021 PER. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll jump down to 7.1. Discussion and possible action regarding website photo contest.
Mayor and City Council, there were 2 photos submitted for the month of September.
One.
Beat you.
Motion and a second.
Photo number 1.
Yes, sir. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
7.2, discussion and possible action to appoint Jim Linderman, Van Berry to the Golf Course Advisory Board to replace Jane Bumpus and Patsy Graves, who chose not to apply for another term.
Good evening, Mayor and Council, that is correct. Mr. Moore cannot be here this evening, but he has spoke with his board. They have confirmed that they would like to reappoint, I should say, Chad Hayman and Andy Johnson, who have graciously agreed to serve another term. And they would like to appoint Jim Linderman and Van Berry to replace Ms. Bumpus and Ms. Graves, who have chosen not to reapply this term.
So on page 44 of our agenda, it states for sections 54 through 76, small c membership, the board shall consist of 5 members to be appointed by the City Council, 3 members to be nominated by the Lampasas Golf Association, but they're nominating 4. So which one are they going to give up on?
Well, they're all nominated by the Golf Association. There's 3 that are members of the Golf Association, 1 at large, and then 1 council member. But they're all appointed by City Council, but they are recommended by each individual board.
That's not what this says. It says 3 members to be nominated by the Lampasas Golf Association. So which 3 of these 4, which one are they going to drop?
Well, I apologize for the wording of this, but again, there's 3 members are part of the Golf Association. They have to be members. 1 of them has City Council and 1 can be an at-large. I will modify and fix the ordinance. That is the way it states in our ordinance. This ordinance I provided to you tonight I miswrote it.
Were any of the other applications considered in there? Did we do a
Mr. Moore advised that they were considered, they were reviewed, and they went through the applicants that they had received, The board met with them, again, based on criteria that they're looking for. Those are active members of the golf course, those that are part of the golf course association, those that are already on there, been there before. They're adding value to the membership and the advisory, and this is what they recommended to council.
Are the 4 members here? I know 2 of them. I know Jim and of course Van.
I don't believe so, they're normally
Chad
not
and Eddie
here.
They're not here for their appointment?
No, sir, that's not regulatory, they're not normally present when they're reappointed or appointed.
I'm gonna move to reappoint Chad Hammond and Andy Johnson, and to appoint Jim Lindeman and Van Berry to the Golf Course Advisory Board.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Nay.
We'll move to 7.3, discussion of possible action to consider reappointment of Mr. Talbot, T.J. Monroe, Finn Irwin to the Economic Development Board.
Mayor and council, this item was discussed at a previous council meeting, and y'all had asked for additional consideration of the applicants, and then you had some public hearings and some information regarding the applicants as well. But this evening, that we are asking to consider a motion to approve the reappointment of Mr. Talbot, T.J. Monroe, and Finn Irwin to the Lampasas Economic Development Board, or in the alternative, to consider other interested parties.
Are we doing this one at a time, or are we doing all 3? What do we do?
Sid, can you come back up here?
Had to go home to work on taxes. I'm gonna go ahead and make a motion so that we can discuss,
Okay.
if that's all right. I'm gonna go ahead and move that we reappoint Missy Talbot, T.J. Monroe, and Finn Irwin to the Lampasas Economic Development Board.
Do we have a second? Okay.
Okay, so for lack of a second, that motion will die.
We can discuss some of this beforehand. I mean, is that it? What'd you say? We can discuss a little bit here beforehand. I mean,
Just speak up into your mics, please.
Are we discussing or are we nominating? We're looking for nominating.
What we usually do is we usually go through and we make a motion, we second the motion, we discuss, and then we can amend the motion or vote on the motion.
so we're talking about going once at a time, or one at a time. You want to make a motion for someone to go.
Mayor, just to clarify the matter, you may want to consider a motion in terms of format, move to take these positions up one at a time.
Okay. Let's get a motion to take it up one at a time, or all 3. So somebody give me a motion.
All right, move to take up each appointment one at a time.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Nay.
So we will take these up one at a time. All right.
So with consideration, does anybody from the EDC want to stand up for Mr. Ball? Since I tried to talk rightfully so earlier and now he's gone. I just have questions on what happened. Okay, come on. I'm sure they're going to be. So all of the applicants that we have in our books today were received in a timely manner before the meeting that you guys had, correct?
Yes,
that you
sir.
voted.
Yes.
So but there was no formal timeline for each person named individually to get up and explain who they are, where they come from, why they applied, anything. That was never set up, right?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay.
But the assumption was that we never considered other applicants, and it's just a little insult to our intelligence. Of course we did. We had the packet a week ahead of time, just like council does. Of course, we looked at all of them.
Sure. And so that leads me back into saying that, but no formal timeline. For instance, when I applied for this position, there was a timeline of each candidate that applied for this position to meet with council at a specific time. The city secretary set that up. I would have thought that you guys, since you had so many applicants, that it's kind of rare, right? If I'm not mistaken, you got a lot more applications now than you've probably had in the past on a given time.
I'm not aware of that. I mean, yeah, I've been on it for
That's fine.
forever. Nobody knows how long I've been on that board, but I've been on there forever.
But since you had so
I
many,
don't remember there being overabundance of applicants this time around.
but since there were so many, I would have thought it would be prudent to kind of say, hey, show up. You got 15 minutes to talk about yourself. Why do you think you'd be good?
EDC meetings have the same basic agenda here as you do here. Any citizen has 5 minutes to get up and speak their piece.
So, do you guys have a sheet like we do in the beginning to say?
Yes.
Okay.
Citizen comments.
And
Yeah.
nobody signed it. None of the.
I don't know that we have a sign-up sheet.
No,
It's
that
just
day,
an agenda
that day.
item. It's open.
So you don't have a sign-up sheet.
Treasurer don't have the answers to this. She can answer.
Just for clarification, there was a statement made by the chairman, inquiring if anybody wanted to speak.
Sure. And I'm sure everybody was like waiting for somebody else to speak. My question was that there's no formal interview set up for anybody. It was a free-for-all.
Well, Mr.
And that sounds bad. I'm sorry.
No,
Let me
it's
retract
fine.
that.
I don't
It's
think
how I was appointed years ago.
Yeah,
Yes.
it was just that day. It was anybody want to talk? Nobody got up and talked, so you closed it.
That's exactly how it went. Yeah.
But like in an interview, you're talking kind of like an interview situation, and I don't think any of the boards have ever done it like that for a board position. It's always been presented to the board like it's presented to us. We've never even had like an interview type situation for specific things. Now, when you were interviewed, that's completely different. Anytime an actual council person is put like before I ever got on, I went through exactly what you went through when Greg Smith was appointed. So, but that's the only time I think they've ever like set up interview times and done things like that for any board position.
But to say that's all the way it's always been done is the worst answer.
Well, that's the truth though.
I mean, but if you got 5 people, or essentially 8 people, now them 3 that are currently on the board aren't going to talk, of course, but you have 5 additional, you would think that.
But I've seen more than 5 people on boards that have come through. Like I've seen more applications. Like what I saw with what the EDC did is standard for what I've seen over my going on 7 years of being on council. There are some boards that will have a lot of applicants and some boards that will only have 2 or 3.
I would love to interject if I can. I don't want to interrupt, but I understand this is a council, an elected council. Of course, there should be an interview process if you're going to appoint someone that's not elected. The LEDC board, like many other boards, are 100% appointments.
Right.
I don't know why the interview process would come into play today, and I don't understand, I guess, primarily why it's being questioned so heavily this time around. I'm not looking for a rubber stamp, but I'm along with Sid Ball on his comments on this. There are positive movements taking place right now, and it seems as though there seems to be a lot of questions about appointments this time around where there never have been.
Right, and that's personally, I think that the appointment or the scheduling 15 minutes for everybody would have killed all of this discussion and all of this talk among town. Because you've heard it, everybody in you've heard it. All
Everybody in the
talk.
room's heard it. Yeah.
That would have ended it right there.
Well, and I think, there's, I understand where Kathy's coming from, I understand where you're coming from, I understand where you're coming from, Ron. I think what it comes down to is maybe since it's a little bit more contentious, have more interest this time, there's more people involved, there's been, some, whether it's bad blood or not, for a while.
Right.
We kind of all started coming together and figuring this stuff out and getting together on here. So maybe in a situation like this, even though it's always been done this way, in a situation like this, it makes sense to interview people, maybe, like down the
Even
road.
though we are substantially behind the curve. I would agree with you.
Right.
But we are very much behind the curve.
Right.
These appointments came up a month ago. It's been tabled here, it was tabled at ours, and so we're way behind the curve. I do agree with you. When it is a contentious appointment like it is right now, and I don't understand why it is, but I don't need to understand that, but it is, it's contentious. Maybe an interview process would have been great, but I don't think
I think it's contentious because the people that applied that aren't on the board feel like they didn't get a vote. And I understand with everybody, even with the EDC that's here nodding their heads, I get that you opened it up, you guys, and said, does anybody want to speak for themselves? And nobody said a word. I get that. But maybe in the future, line them up and say, you got 15 minutes. If you don't want to say anything, kick rocks.
Yeah, I don't know how we go about doing that, because I mean, it probably doesn't make sense on every advisory board, right? I mean, if there's just 2-3 spots open, you got 2-3 folks applying.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's something that I guess we need to figure out kind of how to make, just have a better.
They have 8 for 3, yeah. So they got to give everybody, force them to talk.
And I think, you know, one thing we talked about in that joint meeting, Missy talked about is, one thing we need to quit doing is pointing so much fingers at each other and getting angry and upset. And
The joint meeting was the very best thing that's happened in my entire tenure on EDC.
And it's good that we have people with different opinions, and good that new folks want to get on there. Good that some folks want to stay on there, and I think there's an even mix in between both of those.
I guess that's where I'm confused, because the last city council, we addressed the need to interview, and we did not do that, and now we're here voting on this, and we haven't even addressed that. So, are we not interviewing, we're just voting tonight? Is that what we're doing?
I was under the impression that we took no action 2 weeks ago because Councilman Morris wasn't able to attend, and Mr. Prattis wanted a full council to vote, was what I remember. I don't remember
That's how I remember it.
Yeah,
interview.
that's how I remember.
I don't remember, because I wasn't here.
You weren't. Yes.
Good?
So now we got that explained, how we gonna do this?
I guess we're doing one at a time.
Okay.
Well, then I move to reappoint Missy Talbot to the Lampasas Economic Development Committee.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Nay.
All right, now I appoint TJ Monroe I move to appoint TJ Monroe, to reappoint TJ Monroe to the Lampasas Economic Development Board.
I have a second. And I don't have a second.
Move to nominate Finn Irwin for the EDC Economic Development Board.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nay.
Nay. I move to appoint Daryl Finney to the Lampasas Economic Development Board.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
There's,
Nay.
we have 5 yeas and 2 nays, is that correct? And so the motion's carried. And there's your board. Discussion and possible action to approve purchase of the 2 new FY 2024 budget police patrol vehicles in the amount not to exceed $135,559.
Mayor and council, thank you for your time tonight. As part of the budget process, we requested 2 police vehicles to replace 2 old police vehicles, as we often do. It was approved in the budget, and now tonight I would like permission to go ahead and order those vehicles. And by y'all granting me permission, I can give a purchase order to Silsby Ford, and they'll go ahead and put our name on 2 and get into the process of ordering those and getting them here.
I move to make a motion to approve the purchase of the 2 2025 Ford Explorer Interceptors and related equipment for patrol in an amount not to exceed $135,559.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Chief, real quick, I'm probably splitting hairs, but on one of the left one, it says, Silsby installed bypass patrol for $19,300, and then on the second one, it says Silsby installed Lampasas slick for $17,700. What am I missing here for the difference here?
I believe the difference is going to be, one of these is to replace Lieutenant Montgomery's Tahoe. It's the one with the lesser miles, but it's also 1 year older. And it is not going to have a cage in it. And I believe the difference is not having a cage inside of his vehicle. He's primarily in supervision, so he doesn't transport quite as many prisoners. But please don't hold me to that. I will need to go back and ask him. But I'll
So
stop.
maybe the slick referring to slick interior, no barrier there, maybe. Is that, or you think, okay.
I didn't hear the slick, and again, don't hold me to it, but it is possible that Lieutenant Montgomery is gonna have only lights visible through the interior going out the front windshield and out the back, and he may not have a light on top of it like our standard cars with a light bar. And I need to ask him with that word slick in there, which I didn't study it that close.
That would look pretty slick.
That may be the other thing.
Maybe
Slick top is we commonly refer to.
Maybe I'll run into you in a month or so.
I think that's gonna be the difference, and I'll retract my previous one, and I bet you it's a slick top, it probably costs less because he's not having that light bar.
Makes sense to me.
All right, we have a motion, we have a second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Seven point five, discussion and possible action regarding engagement of service with Ackerman Engineering for professional engineering and surveying services in connection with the Texas CDBG project for drainage improvements.
Mayor and Council, you're asked tonight to consider a contract for design services for a CDBG project that the city was awarded this last spring. We have, this is actually a project that was originally applied for and we did the spade work for in FY22. It did not receive funding in what they considered the first round, but it did receive funding in the second round. The scope of the project is basically drainage improvements from Porter down Avenue, West Avenue E, and basically is the scope of which includes the sizing of culverts and upsizing of culverts as needed. Total grant is a $500,000 grant. The city will match 10% of $50,000 for a total of $550,000. And the engineering was procured in March of 2023, so this is simply the contract for design.
Make a motion to approve professional civil engineering services agreement with Ackerman Engineering Inc. for the drainage improvements project through TDA contract number CDB 23-0267 in an amount not to exceed $75,000.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
7.6, discussion and possible action regarding extending the project limits of Second Street roadway improvements project to address existing pavement failures and drainage in the amount not to exceed $100,000.
Good to be Ryan again. This is a change order for your consideration to the Second Street project to extend the improvements basically 125 feet to the east. During construction, the contractor found that the existing pavement beyond the project limits on Con Street was not suitable to tie into due to base failure. After walking the project with the engineer, contractor, and staff, they looked at an extension of approximately 125 feet. I think the most obvious question that council should ask themselves is why wasn't this included in the original project? And certainly that's an important question. I think at the time, and I'll ask Carlos for his input on this, but I believe at the time the correction that we were trying to make was to the box culverts, kind of the rudimentary box culverts that were constructed on the north side of Second Street that began to fail and open up, and you probably, if you've been down Second Street, you notice cones there. And I think that typically, that scope was probably a main street to almost the Con Street in terms of the outfall. As you can see from the pictures, it seems pretty obvious to me that we've got issues with the roadway further to the east and perhaps should have been included. That was not the case, but Carlos, was there any other reason that was a limit of construction for the project?
Underneath right there, you look right there, you look right there in the road where we got the original salt put line, that drainage pipe is failed, is the old clay pipe that runs underneath there. and it's failed, and all that's gonna tie into the new box culverts that are coming in, and it will run straight to the creek. So it eliminated that completely. Now, there in the alleyway behind Eves, we had that issue happen a couple of years ago, and what we did, we just filled that concrete completely and made it flow onto to that box culvert that's there at that corner.
Do you have the scope of the original scope for this project handy by chance? Because I thought that this was already going all the way to Hackberry.
So, no, that one stops at the corner of Pecan and Second, right there on the Windsor side, right there at Windsor where it comes around that corner, because the ADA ramps are gonna go on that side, right next to the building. So it's gonna extend past that to the middle of, I wouldn't say the middle of Hackberry, but where that drainage comes underneath Second Street, it's gonna extend to that point right there. So there's a good concrete and everything already there, so we wouldn't go past that. It just stop right there.
We had talked about eventually wanting to go all the way to Hackberry, and I think that's a good goal for council to consider, particularly thinking about pedestrian improvements and connection between downtown from Hackberry and Cooper Spring Park, et cetera. But that was not included in this scope.
I think that's the frustrating thing. That's not what you call us with the person that came to us with the scope and talking about this. I feel like we should have anticipated that coming out. I think we can't ask any questions. I'm not trying to throw Ryan under the bus. I know that's exactly what I'm doing, but it's just frustrating when he's gone and then it's $100,000 coming back. But
Did they not know that clay pipe was collapsed?
No, ma'am. We did not know that till afterwards.
We probably didn't even know that there was a clean pipe.
Correct.
and I'm just in the condition over there, like where it's going to get extended. But does it need to be done?
Yes, it does.
There's no talking of clean pipe. And this 100,
RCP pipe.
Yeah, 195 feet RCP.
and the additional funding is going to come out of the GL account. Streets, is that just prohibit you from doing something else with them? Is that
Correct.
essentially what's going to happen?
Yeah, if you look at page 99, you've just got a very down and dirty accounting of it. You do have money within your current budget, and would still be able to surplus it. It would limit you to a certain extent, obviously $100,000. But the reason we have the excess here is because we were able to pay. We had one bill for 167 that was paid in FY24, and so that, and then in FY24 we still rolled over 282, a little over 282,000 in under expenditure for capital outlay in the streets. So it's not like it's draining $100,000 out of your fund balance.
This is just taking priority over what we were, a different direction we were going. But
That's
it's already over there.
That's correct.
Carlos, if we approve this $100,000 change order, what is that going to take from future projects that you had in mind?
So our future projects that I had in mind that we've had would be over by the middle school, starting over there in that section of town, starting at, I think it was 4th Street, if I'm correct, Finley, we would go all the way to 281, 10th Street, capture all that. That just offset it a year.
$100,000 is probably not going to be even the engineering for that project, because it's probably an 8 to 10 block area. And you've all driven around the middle school. You know that you've got to engineer this a big picture, and then maybe try to do it in phases, because otherwise the tie-ins would just be prone for a tie-in that won't drain water.
So
Around Broad Street.
So with that, it would be 3 years. It'd be 3-phase what we were looking at. It'd go from let's say Key Avenue all the way to Ridge, and from 4th all the way to 10th. So we'd cover that whole section.
It says during construction, the contractor found that the existing pavement beyond project limits of Con Street is not suitable to tie into due to base failure. It has nothing to do with no.
So it's an alligator cracking on top. But if you go over there and you use your foot and kick down on it, and you got straight to dirt. There's no base underneath that.
What's that going to do with the pipe?
So the pipe would be replaced.
It needs to be replaced?
Yes, sir.
It's replacing the old clay pot.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the largest single item on the estimate is you've got about $35,000 worth of RCP.
And this pavement was in that condition when we bid it. When they bid it. A year and a half ago. That they could have walked up there and checked the pavement and seen that it was crumbling at your feet.
So it goes a little back further than that. It actually went back when the underground drainage started failing at the intersections. And what happened is, and you can walk through there and you probably got 1.5 inches of hot mix to 2 inches, some places maybe 5 or 6 inches of hot mix, just over the years they overlaid. And we ran into some spots that in the past when it was paved with seal coat, instead of them going in there and ripping it out with seal coat, they just took base and went over the top of the seal coat. And then they built it up 6 to 8 inches just to match the underground drainage for the post offices. But all that's failed. That was the start of all this. And at the time, we were just gonna go to Live Oak. Then we got to looking at it, and that's when we extended pond down there. But yes, as far as the asphalt and all that, it's been like that.
I make a motion to extend the project limits of the Second Street roadway improvements project to address existing pavement failure and drainage, an amount not to exceed $100,000.
I'll second.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Seven point seven, discussion and possible action regarding the approval of installation and removal of Christmas lights at W.N. Brook Park to H&H Tree Service in the amount of $30,000 to be dispersed in 3 installments.
Mayor and Council, Chris Iker apologized. He was unable to attend the meeting tonight. I will handle this. This is an annual contract we have with H&H Tree Service. They have done this for the past 5-6 years, and it's always been $30,000. They did have to go up this year, but I would be remiss not to recognize that the difference is being picked up by the Christmas on the Creek Committee, who supplemented the increased cost of the installation by $10,000. Also, the city has received a generous donation from a local contractor to donate 5,000 feet of new light strands as well as 1,500 new bulbs. We'd ask for your consideration. This is currently budgeted out of Fund 40 and seek your consideration.
Move to approve funding to H&H Tree Service in the amount of $30,000 for installation and removal of Christmas lights at W.N. Brook Park to be dispersed in 3 installments per the agreement.
Second.
Any discussion?
Do we have anybody from Lampasas, our city, that can do this? Have they ever bid? Nobody from Lampasas has ever bid this?
We did have one person, and frankly, we consider H&H a local contractor.
Yeah.
And secondly, no, like our electrical department couldn't pull this off?
No.
They don't have equipment?
You would take them out of service. This is a very intensive install that is done during a very compressed time frame, so no.
No, I understand Lomita is local, but that's not Lampasas. That's not.
He's right outside of town. He's just right outside of town on Myrick taxidermy. Or the old auction barn.
His address right here says Lomita.
That's probably his home address.
We have had one person bid it in the past and they declined after they did it.
I consider him local. He does a lot of local work here in town.
Is it inappropriate to ask who donated the lights and bulbs?
I don't know the name. So if I find out the name, I might see if they
All
want
right.
to recognize it or not.
Let's have a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
7.8, discussion and possible action regarding the purchase of a FY 24-25 budgeted high Ranger bucket truck for the electric department.
I'd like to introduce Wade Sanders, who's going to take this agenda item.
We are so glad to see you here tonight.
Thank you. So I'm here
I'm
asking.
glad you're at the end.
Made it to the end, right? So I'm here asking for a new bucket truck, a new Altec TA-60 bucket truck for $246,000 and some change.
I'll make a motion to approve new Altec TA-60 4x2 bucket truck purchase in the amount of $246,000. $246,676 from Global Rental Company
I'll second.
Council, just for some background, I deal with this company on regular, in my regular job. Altech is one of the largest, most reputable companies in the U.S. that purchases not only Freightliner, Western Star, but Peterbilt and Mack, all of the equipment. They're, as I said, very, very reputable. I even contacted some of my Freightliner dealers that I do have a very long relationship with, and they said that they couldn't touch this price because of the programming prices that we have in our corporation. So I think this is a great deal. The product should be very, very good and should do us good for years to come.
Yes, this truck come in, well, the competition come in at 279,000 and some change, 280,000. And, this all-tech truck is available right now. And there are people wanting them. They were wanting to send it to Florida, and so we all take it. So I'm pretty sure we are. We're lucky to be getting there. We'll be waiting another year and a half for a build out.
My understanding, you've been down 2 years, right, with that one?
All right, let's go get it. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
Need a motion to adjourn into executive session.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
The City Council of the City of Lampasas, Texas will meet in closed executive session pursuant to the Texas Government Code, Chapter 551 as follows. Deliberation regarding security devices and security audits, the deployment or specific occasion for implementation of security personnel or device of security audit. Now we can adjourn into executive session. Discussion and possible action concerning items posted and discussed by council in executive session, and there was nothing coming out of executive session, so I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Any discussion? Okay.